So let us start with today's lesson of agents of pollination. Now, what are the learning objectives of today's lesson? Now, first we can say that today we are going to understand about what are the biotic and abiotic agents or factors of pollination. We will be learning about both the wind and water pollination. We are going to understand about the pollination of insects, birds, as well as mammals. So let us move on to the main part of this video. Now, what are the mechanisms of cross-pollination? Now, first we can say that there are two agents of cross-pollination. That is, the first agent is the abiotic agent. That is, wind and water are the abiotic agents. And the next one are the biotic agents, which is the insects, the birds and the mammals. These three are the biotic agents. Now, how we can differentiate the main characteristics of the pollination which are happening through the biotic as well as the abiotic agents. Let us see what is there in the next slide. Now in this slide we are going to discuss about the abiotic agents. That is, first comes the wind pollination. So what does this wind pollination, another name, mean? That is called anemophily. So this anemo, it's a Greek word which means wind, and the phily means affinity. So here we can say that many flowers are anemophilous or wind pollinated. Now it is not a very efficient method of pollination because it depends on both the flower which is producing pollens and on the receptive stigma of the flower to be pollinated. So we can give a few examples of plants which are pollinated by this method. Like we can write that the first one is grass, next comes maize. Now very few plants are like wind pollinated. Then comes, we can say that hazel and willow. These are very rare few examples of plants which are being wind pollinated. So grass, maize, hazel and willow. Please remember a few examples of wind pollinated flowers, so that once you get the examples you can write with the important features and how these flowers with examples actually how these flowers are being pollinated with the help of wind. Now what are the main characters? Let us come to the characters. Now as you can see here, they are produced in huge amount and they are very light. You can see that they are producing large amount of pollens, and they are usually very small flowers. They have a long stalk. So they all are having a long stalk. They have a long stalk here. The flowers are very small and they produce huge amount of pollens, and the flowers will always be very small. The flowers will always be small, dry, etc. So because of the large stamens, what is happening? They are always hanging out outside of the flower, and what they are doing, they are loosely attached so that they can sway and shake out the pollen in the lightest breeze. Whenever they are shaking their body, when the flowers are shaking in the slightest breeze also, the feathery stigma is there ready. It is spreading out itself and it is catching the pollen. So what is the tendency of the flowers? When the pollens is being shaken by the flowers, the stigma is there, feathery stigma is there, it is catching the pollen, and as it is spreading out, it is catching the pollen as it floats in the air. Now stigma is always sticky, you all know. Now here we can see that in this type of pollination, the flowers have no petals and are very small, and they are neither brightly colored nor they have a beautiful scent. No, it's not required actually. So because it is pollinated by wind. So in other types of pollination, we will see that there are different characteristics. Here the main characteristics will be the flowers will be small, having a long stalk, having a long filament, and so that they can move away or sway away their pollen in the slightest breeze. And the flowers, they do not produce any nectar or scent, as I have told you earlier. So these are all the main characteristics of wind pollinated flower or anemophily, and these flowers are all called anemophilous flower. So they are all called anemophilous flower. They are called anemophilous flower. Okay, is it clear? Now next we'll come to the next agent or the next abiotic agent of pollination, that is the water. Now this is the another abiotic agent of pollination, that is water. And this type of pollination is called hydrophily, and it is water pollination. Now hydro, we all know this is coming from a Greek word hydro. So it is hydro, which means water, and phily means affinity. Now pollination by water is actually, it's not very common, but a few aquatic plants, now the mention should be made of a plant which is called Vallisneria. Now here the example also I have given of Vallisneria only. This is also the Vallisneria plant. There are others like water weeds also, which example we can mention, that water weeds also are few plants which are being pollinated through water. So how it is pollinated? Generally the water weeds and this Vallisneria, they release their pollen in water, and which is passively carried to other flowers by water currents. Now there should be a few characteristics of this water pollinated flowers. So what are the characteristics? Now the first main characteristics of this type of flowers will be, they need to produce pollen in large amounts, and so that they have to reach enough chances of reaching the stigma. The plants are always, they are dioecious. So what is the meaning of the term dioecious? So the term dioecious means they are bearing female and male parts in different flowers. So male and female, they are in different plants. So male and female flowers, they are not in the same plants. They are in different plants. So they are called dioecious. So they are in different plants. So here we can see the flowers are very small, and they are actually inconspicuous. So they are not actually very much visible, very much clear. But there is another important feature in this water pollinated flowers, that is the pollens have a specific gravity. So the pollens are having a specific gravity which is equal to water, and so which helps the pollens to float just below the water surface. So the pollens are having the specific gravity that is equal to water. So equal to water, they are having the specific gravity. Equal to water, the pollens are having the specific gravity, and which allows the pollen to float just below the water surface. And the flowers are very, very light. So if they are not light, they cannot float on water. So then water pollination is impossible. If they are like, if they dip down in water, it will not be possible. So that they can float easily on the water surface. So hence the water pollination will be successful in these cases only. So few examples, you need to learn the examples, and please learn this type of drawing also. It's a very easy drawing. We can see the staminate flowers over here. We can see the pistillate flower over here. Now the water levels are below the water level. We can see the pollens are floating here, and they, from the male flowers to the female flowers, they are moving. So they are pollinating. So this is how the water pollination happens. So let us move on to the next one, which is the biotic agents, that is pollination by insects. So what is this pollination by insects called? It is called entomophily. So entomophily. So this term ento comes from the Greek word, means insect. So this is coming from the Greek word which means insects, and phily we know earlier also we have told it is affinity. Now many flowers are pollinated by insects. We can see here one insect is here, butterfly, and here we can see the bee. So many flowers are always, that honey bees are pollinating, wasps, moths, butterflies. Many insects are there which are pollinating the flowers. Now how do these flowers get pollinated by insects? So what are the characteristic features of these flowers which make them attractive to the insects? So the insects are being attracted to this flower, so only they'll come and sit on these flowers. If they are not attracted to this flower, how come they'll come and sit on this flower? So if they are attracted to this flower only, they'll come and sit on this flower, and then only the pollen grains will stick to their body, and when they'll go and sit in other flowers, they'll get that pollen grain will fall on that flower, and the stigma will catch hold of that pollen grain. So what are the characteristic features of this type of flowers? The flowers will always, they should be large, and they should be brightly colored. You can see both these flowers are very much brightly colored, and the petals should have a beautiful scent, and they should have nectaries. That is, they should come, they should sit attracted by the smell, and they should suck the nectar from the flower. So then only the insects will come and sit in this flower. So the flowers should produce nectar, which is the food for the insects. Now, some flowers, they are known as their honey guides or as nectar guides. Now, many flowers, they have markings which are actually visible in the ultraviolet light. That is, this ultraviolet light, who can recognize? Like bees can recognize, and which helps to pollinate the flowers. Now, in this type of flower, one main important thing is that the pollen grains are very large. They are very smooth, they are very sticky. So once the insects come and sit there, they are covered with this pollen grains, and this bees and all, they have having spiny hairs. So this spiny hairs they are having throughout the body. So their hairs are spiny in nature. So this is spiny hairs. So what these pollens will do, they will stick. So the pollens will stick. Pollens stick to the hairs. They'll stick to the hairs, and once this pollen grains, they go and sit in other part of the female part of the flower, the pollens there fall off. And the anthers are very small and situated inside the flower, where the insects can easily, they need to move there. The stigma part also of the female flower is very sticky, and it is having they are not hanging out of the flower, and they secrete a very sugary sweet fluid where the pollen grains become attached to. So the stigma is sticky, they are secreting a sugary fluid, and the pollen is getting attached to. Now, moth and butterfly, we can say that white or yellow or colored, they can be easily seen during the night, and they are pollinated by them. So this is entomophily. So previously we have studied about wind, water, the abiotic agents. Now we started with the biotic agents. That first we started with insects. Now in the next slide we will be moving to other. Now coming to the last part of this agents of pollination, we will be discussing about the pollination caused by animals, or we can say that it is called zoophily. So zoon, we all know that zoon is a term. It is coming from a Greek term. Zoon means zoon. It comes from a Greek word which means animal. So zoon is a term which means animals, and phily, we have told earlier also, it means affinity. Now pollination by birds, we can see here birds. What is it called? These terms should be very much, you should be very much aware with these terms. Now if they are asking for the terms, like if they are asking for the name, say few characteristic features of the flowers which are being pollinated by like which are zoophily. Like animals, or which are pollinated by ornithophily. So what is this ornithophily? So ornithophily is ornithophily. So this is actually a very common name. Ornithophily refers to birds. So in higher classes you will be studying about ornithine cycle. So it is a special type of cycle which happens in the bodies of birds. Now here we are referring the pollination by birds, or ornithophily. So what are the characteristics of flowers which are being pollinated by birds? So let us see that. Now many flowers are being pollinated by birds. Now few examples we can take, like begonia and canna. So we can take few examples like begonia and canna. So these flowers are pollinated by birds. So what are the special features they are having? Birds, they do not have a keen sense of smell, but they have excellent vision. So the flowers should be bright red or yellow in color. So specifically we can say they should be bright red or yellow in color. They should not have any smell, because the birds do not have any keen sense of smell. Now flowers should usually be large, and they should have a large and huge amount of nectar in their floral tube, so that the birds will come for their food, for their nectar. They'll come and sit on the flowers, and the pollens will stick to their body as in that of insects. The same thing will happen. And as we can say, the flowers, they produce large amount of nectar in long floral tubes, so that it is not consumed by the insects, but the birds, they can come and sit on the flowers and consume the nectar. Now next comes, we can say that next it is pollination by mammals. We can see here that a bird being pollinated by a rat. So it is a mammal, we all know. So mammals, how they do pollinate? So squirrels, bats, elephants, they are used as pollinators in some plants. Now here we can see the pollen grains of one flower may be attached to the feet of elephant also. Now here the pollen grains get attached to the body of this rat, and they go and sit on some other part of the of this type of flower species. They'll come and sit there, and the pollens will fall on the stigma. So this is how the cross pollination happens. Now pollination done by elephant, how is it that there is a flower called Rafflesia, now whose flowers are very large. So these flowers are in the ground level. So this Rafflesia, this is done by elephant. This is a pollination by elephant. So when the elephants walk, they get attached to the feet of the elephant, and when the elephant touches the other flower of the male or like female gender, they get transferred to the stigma of that flower. So it might be the elephant, while walking, it is passing on through the male flower. So stepping up on the male flower, the pollens get stuck to the bottom of the leg of the feet of the elephants, and when they put their feet or touch the other flower, which is female, so it get transferred to the stigma of that flower. Like this only pollination happens from one flower to another. Now there are bat also, they pollinate several flowers, which is primarily those flowers which are open at night, and when the bats are moving around from one tree to another tree, and the flowers should be large in size. And these flowers they have dull color also, because bat they randomly move from plants to plants, and the flowers should be open, and they should come and sit there, and it should get stuck. So that is all with this agents of pollination. It is very easy, and you should know the terms like entomophily, ornithophily, zoophily, this and all. And you should know the characteristics of pollination done by wind, water, animals, insects and all. So this is all in this pollination part. Next we will be studying about artificial pollination and fertilization and development of a seed, which is very important. We will be studying about double fertilization, triple fusion and all. We will study about the full the structure of a typical pollen and how the double fertilization and triple fusion is happening. So this is all in today's episode of Agents of Pollination. Please do go through it, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you can keep on getting updates, and I'll be making you learn and these topics in a very easy and lucid manner. And don't forget to share my channel to your friends. Okay, thanks for today, and I'll be coming soon with the several updates. Thank you.